Welcome back to the Thinking Crypto podcast, your home for cryptocurrency news and interviews. With me today is Nick Burrafato, who's the Director of Member Investments at Linqto. Nick, great to have you on, my friend.
Thank you, Tony. It's great to see you again.
Nick, some people may say, well, you call Nick your friend, and I think we should tell the story of our journey because both of us met on Twitter. You under the handle Mr. B XRP on Twitter, and we started. Boy, what was it? 2017, 2018.
Yeah.
I was in the market since 2016, but I got on Twitter in 2017. When did you start your crypto journey?
Wow. It's been an amazing journey, Tony, for sure. I actually bought my first Bitcoin in early 2017. A
Hmm.
good friend of mine, Jeff, I was trying to find a friend that that knew about Bitcoin. I couldn't find anybody that knew about it because at my age, most people weren't involved.
Hmm.
Finally, a good friend of mine, Jeff, I'd asked him on the phone, "Hey, Jeff, before we get off the phone, do you know anything about Bitcoin?" He says, "How much time do you have?" And I'm like, "Thank God." And he walked me through what he knew. And my experience with Jeff is everything he does turns to gold. He's just got the Midas touch. So I bought my first Bitcoin. And then after I bought my first Bitcoin, Jeff said to me, "Hey, I need to now talk to you about Ripple."
Hmm.
And I was like, "What's a Ripple?" And that's how we got into the conversation of Ripple and XRP. And I bought my first XRP late summer of 2017. And I was there for the big run up, the big bull run, the big $3.84 that we all experienced.
That was
And,
great.
and by that time, my friends and family were just tired of me talking about this company Ripple and this XRP. And I had to go find other people to talk to. And that's how I ended up on Twitter. I started the Mr. BXRP profile because I needed to talk to someone else because nobody else wanted to hear from me about it. And I wanted to go there to learn more and then educate new people. And that's kind of how I fell into being Mr. BXRP. It's a
Yeah,
crazy run.
yeah, right. It almost feels like it's the good old days of crypto because things have changed tremendously over the years. And at one point we both connected face to face on Zoom to try to see if we can start a crypto company, maybe a
Yeah.
competitor to Coin Market Cap. So
Absolutely. Yeah, it's funny. I love that I see so many of us, the class of 2017, I call it, the class of 2017, how we found careers, related to the crypto field because I was a real estate broker for over 20 years. And what had happened, my journey, what had happened was after becoming Mr. BXRP, I built up a pretty good following.
mm,
And when we had the sickness strike the world, I couldn't get out and sell houses. All of my real estate couldn't get out and sell houses. So I decided to start a YouTube channel because I already had this following on Twitter. And I started the YouTube channel, Mr. BXRP. And for the entire year that situation was going on the worst, is how I supported my family. And I'm so thankful for that. But what had happened in that experience was I had met the folks at Linqto, and I was doing advertising for Linqto, and I become an investor on their platform over that year. And by the time I was ready to go back to real estate, I had said to Linqto, "Look, I've got to get back to my real estate business, but I love what you guys are doing. I love it. I enjoy it. I just love talking about these companies, and this is my passion. If you ever want to speak with me about helping you build the company after a 30 plus year career in sales, give me a holler."
mm.
And it was shortly after that Joe Endoso reached out to me. He said, "Nick, I think we're ready for you." And that's when I joined Linqto, which was January 3rd of 2021.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
know, yeah, you love crypto, and obviously Linqto offers the ability to invest into crypto companies in addition to AI and other fintech
Yeah.
companies. So now you're full-time Linqto,
I
still.
am. And actually it was January 3rd of 2022. I take it back. So this will be my second full year. Yeah. 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 But
Uh,
yeah, so I'm talking about I used to talk about digital assets for fun. Now I do it all day long, for a living because so many of our members are involved in this space. It's a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, that's exciting, man. It's a great thing to follow your passion and do what you love, right? It makes
It
work
is.
easy and or it doesn't seem like work sometimes.
It,
So that's
I
awesome.
yeah, I literally like I mean, you go from starting a Twitter profile to, last Tuesday night, I was at an exclusive dinner sitting next to Jack McDonald from PolySign. Like it's just, you just can't imagine how these things happen, but they do. It's amazing. It really is.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love Jack. I've had him on the
Oh,
podcast so many times. Yeah.
I've seen him on your program. Jack is a fantastic CEO.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
he's great.
He
He's
is
very,
really,
very knowledgeable.
oh, he's awesome. He really, really is. And PolySign's doing some really, really big things.
And if I'm not mistaken, PolySign is one of the companies available on Linqto's
It
platform.
is. It is. Yeah, yeah. So we have so many, well, we have 42 or 44 companies on our platform right now. But, for your viewers, probably the most popular are Ripple, PolySign. Geez, there's so many.
Sure.
We have Glint, we have iTrust Capital, BitPay. I mean, we have just so many that are related to the crypto field because our members are so crypto centric. But and we've got some other exciting companies on our platform that I think are going to be absolutely huge for our investors and for Linqto.
Yeah, I'm a Linqto user, and I got excited when I started seeing, in addition to Ripple, some of the other big crypto names that I'm very bullish on, like Circle, because
Yes.
USDC and the largest stable coin operator in the US has regulatory, I shouldn't say clarity on stable coins, but they're regulated within the United States, which is a big win. Obviously, partner with Coinbase. And then, of course, PolySign, and then like Chainalysis, which is the blockchain data
Yeah.
company. I was like, okay, I got to grab up
Yeah.
some of these. So
Yeah, yeah, and to your point, Circle is a very popular investment on our platform. Their numbers are amazing. And Chainalysis, what I tell our members is, look, blockchain doesn't exist without Chainalysis. I mean, Chainalysis is the software that the exchanges, the FBI, the IRS, that all of anybody that needs to pay attention to blockchain can find the bad guys because the bad guys are out there and they're moving around constantly. So Chainalysis is key to blockchain. It's also been very, very popular on our platform for sure.
so tell us what's the latest with Linqto, anything that recently happened or maybe around the corner.
Well, I mean, we've grown so much. Before I came to Linqto, I was while I was here, we had crossed our first $100 million in investments on our platform, which was amazing. And the company had only been, I think, at the point we were 2 years old. Now we're, a little over 3 years old, and we're at $265 million or more in investments on the platform, and we'll be at 300 million in no time at all. So the growth has been tremendous. We had a first year and a half, Linqto had 6 exits of companies that had exited to go, some IPO, some get acquired, different things happen in exits, but all exits are good on the Linqto platform. The exit window hasn't been open in the last couple of years because companies aren't going public right now, but we're starting to see companies announce their IPOs. We haven't had any on our platform yet, but we're seeing other companies announce IPOs. So we think the IPO window is going to start to begin to open, which will be really exciting for our members because that's what they're here for.
Yeah, for sure. And to your point, like, in this tightening cycle and, the Fed raising rates and things have been, well, look, we can say we've definitely been in some level of a recession. As we come out of that, I'm sure more companies are going to do IPOs and, another bull market cycle will start again. QE may be back, rates will get cut. So it's just a matter of time, right?
It is. It really is. And those, what's exciting is our members, we've got the members at Linqto are just the most fantastic people. I mean, we've got members in, I don't even know how many countries now. We're probably at 100 countries. So literally we're talking to people from all over the world, and everyone has the same goal in mind. They want to, they love the idea that when you become a Linqto member, you're actually your own venture. You have your own venture capitalist firm, so to speak. You get to sit down, you get to invest in these companies before they go public, and it gives you an opportunity to pick to pick the ones that you think are going to be winners early in the game. So it's a unique position that our members are in, and it's very, very exciting. We've got some new companies on our platform. One that I would just love to mention because it's just so exciting is Axiom Space. And Axiom Space is a company that is building the new space station. They're not building a piece of the space station or a part for the space station. They're building the whole thing. They were originally folks that were either contractors or worked for NASA for an extended period of time. So they're building the whole thing. They'll actually attach the first module to the old station. I think it's going to be in 2026. They're going to attach the first module to the old station. And then ultimately they'll build out the new station on the old station, and they'll decommission the old station. But this company has a tremendous amount of contracts already, because you've got governments, you've got medical companies that want to do medical tests in space, because there's tests that they can do in space that they can't do on Earth. They can make lenses for the eye that they can't make on Earth. They need zero gravity to make these things. There's manufacturing that they're going to do up there. And it's a company that the horizon of an exit isn't nearly as far as people may think. They're very aggressive about what they want to do and when they want to do it. So Axiom Space is just absolutely huge. A lot of our members have invested in already, and many intend to do so, but it's very, very exciting. The other thing is this, and that I expressed to you, is SpaceX provides the transport to space. So they're not a competitor of Axiom. In fact, Axiom will be their number one customer, because Axiom has to get all their stuff to space, meaning all of their equipment and also their astronauts. So they'll be working together in tandem to build that space station, which is just awesome. And I live in Orlando, which is so cool, because every time SpaceX takes off, it literally flies over my pool screen. My wife and I go out in the back and we watch the rockets. It's really cool to see.
That's awesome. And one of the things that I love, with Linqto, the companies you have in your portfolio, in my opinion, are what I see as many of the emerging markets and markets are going to do really well. Obviously, crypto and blockchain, AI, and you mentioned the space exploration and building and things like that. Look, that's like my daughter's generation coming up. That's going to be the future, whether people like it or not. And I'm very excited to have these opportunities to invest. And I'm saying that not because you're on the show, but as an investor, someone who's looking to obviously make a great return and diversify. I have crypto, I have stocks, but I can also get equity, some diversified across the board. I got some real estate as well. So I love having the option, and something I never thought I would be able to unless I was part of a hedge fund or had my foot in the door somewhere.
Yeah. It's just, I mean, years ago, I didn't even know something like this existed. It's a tremendous opportunity. And we really vet these companies. I mean, we look at these companies, we look at what they're doing, we look at, is it something that would be appealing to our investors? Are they on the right track? Do they have a good team? I mean, because what happens at Linqto is, and what separates us from our competitors is we don't act as a broker. We don't go say, okay, we're interested in your private equity. Let us go find somebody that's interested in buying it. No, we actually write the check up front. We invest in the companies up front. And then we go ahead and offer them to our investors. So we have to believe in those companies ourselves, because we put our money where our mouth is.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, you guys have skin in the game, and that's a really, really great thing, because these folks can have confidence that you're looking to make a return as well on your investment. So you're doing your due diligence. Are there any other cool things you guys are working on? I know last time I spoke to Joe Endoso, one of the things he mentioned I was super excited about was the tokenization of these shares, and he's working with PolySign to do some atomic settlement, and with XRP as well. Any updates around that?
Yeah, I mean, so we're still moving in that direction. I mean, the world that we see at Linqto, I just think the world's and I'm so glad old guys like you and me see this, even in our advanced age, right? I mean, a lot of the younger people will assume this is all normal, but for you and I, at least we're, and I'm obviously older than you are, but we're on this train a lot earlier. But we see Linqto as being a place of tokenization. I mean, we see that, that the world is moving toward tokenization. So we want to be at the forefront of that. So we see in the very near future taking our assets on our platform and tokenizing them, and then having them in much of an exchange environment so that members can buy and sell, which you can right now buy on our platform 24/7. Many of our assets you can actually sell on our platform, but they're not yet tokenized. So once we've tokenized them, it'll make for a very easy and efficient environment to move on the platform, and it's just where the future is going, and members can invest in specific amounts if they want to, and with Atomic Net, and I was speaking with Jack McDonald about this last week. I mean, they're giddy about Atomic Net, and Atomic Net is that close. It's coming. What's really cool about it, for those of your viewers that don't know what Atomic Net is Atomic Net is the blockchain that PolySign is building. And literally, it's going to be a place where capital markets can exchange products. Like, for instance, if you're an oil company in London and you want to buy shares of a public company in the United States, you can send the ownership of your shares in your oil company to PolySign, and the other company will send their shares, and PolySign will act as, in the Atomic Net, will act somewhat as an instant escrow, and it's a trustless system where companies can actually exchange whatever they're going to exchange. It's fantastic. There's just nothing like it. And we intend to do PolySign transactions ourselves. So it's very exciting. I hope to hear PolySign express more, and I think we will, by the way, some more information about how it's going to work and when it's going to get launched. And I hope to hear that we can hear more about that soon. But I can tell you they're really, really excited about it.
Yeah, that's going to be pretty incredible. And on the topic of tokenization, we're seeing some of the largest financial institutions in the world are moving towards that. BlackRock CEO Larry Fink has been saying tokenization is the future of finance, and we're seeing banks and many of these folks looking to do that. It's already started, and they're doing their pilots, their trial and errors, and I think eventually we're going to have global markets 24/7, fractionalization, and much more.
It's going to be great. I mean, tokenization is where, and for anyone that doesn't really grasp tokenization, if you could tokenize your house, if you could, that means you could sell off a piece of your house if you want. Not that you want to, but let's say you did, or if you had an office building, you said, I want to sell 12% of my office building. You could sell off just 12% to raise capital. Or if you own they could tokenize the Empire State Building and sell off the Empire State Building. And I've recently, was talking to a friend about the tokenization of stadiums, and there's just all kinds of stuff that everything can be tokenized. And I think 10 years from now, Tony, we could look back on this moment of you and I having this conversation, and tokenization will be normal, and it will be acceptable. And what's beautiful is the velocity of money will be so fast and will move so quickly that it'll just be incredible. I mean, imagine you go to your local supermarket and you could pay for your groceries with the piece of a Picasso that you own by just, tapping your phone. I mean, it's just amazing.
Yeah, it's going to be a brave new world, man.
Yeah, it's going to be great. And you know what? For everyone that's listening to your channel, congratulations to you for paying attention. Because it takes effort to pay attention. It's like in this space. I mean, you and I have been in this space for so long, and one of the drums I've been beating really hard for the last couple of weeks, specifically because I know that you have a lot of XRP and Ripple folks that watch your program, is to go back to the basics. I want to see influencers go back to the basics. I want to see Ripple go back to the basics. and explain what Ripple does. What is RippleNet? And what is the difference between using RippleNet and using XRP? Because a lot of newer people, because I speak to investors every day that buy Ripple shares, and some of them are buying them because their friend told them to buy them, or their dad, or their uncle, or their business partner. And they don't really understand what Ripple does. And I would just encourage everyone to go back to the basics with the people that you know or the people that are interested, and let them know that RippleNet is a replacement for Swift. And Swift has admitted publicly that they're what was it, 94% effective, meaning 6% of their messages got lost and when payments were made. I've seen that publicly said. I don't know if it's still that, but that's what I heard in the past. And RippleNet doesn't have that problem. It's on the blockchain. So it replaces Swift, but it still uses Nostro accounts, which means that banks have to have money in the countries that they're going to send money to. But the beautiful thing is, once a bank decides to not only use RippleNet, but to also use ODL, which is on-demand liquidity, which you and I learned years ago was originally called XRapid. Now it's ODL. By using ODL, by using XRP, the banks will use XRP as the bridge asset so that they don't need to have those pre-funded accounts around the world. So essentially, they could take all of that dormant capital home, which we've heard Brad Garlinghouse say is between 15 and $27 trillion. I mean, imagine if financial institutions can take all that money home. What could they do with that money? They can lend it. They can hire more people. They can make more jobs. And you know, the way the process works for anyone that's not clear is if Tony wants to send me $5,000 and I'm in Mexico, instead of Bank of America, hypothetically, if they're going to use ODL in the future, wouldn't need to have a pre-funded account in Mexico if they use ODL. They would technically take Tony's $5,000. They would press a button on their computer. It will buy XRP, $5,000 worth of XRP, run it to Mexico, technically, sell it in Mexico, and settle the payment in 10 seconds or less and not have to have a pre-funded account there. Yep. It's beautiful for the consumer. It's fast. It's inexpensive. It's fantastic for the financial organization because it's fast and inexpensive for them, and they get to bring all that dormant capital home. So I would encourage anyone that's interested in XRP or Ripple, do your homework, learn about how it works, because trust me, it's more exciting than you even know. The deeper you go, it really is. So anyway, I didn't want to go on a tangent, but any chance I get to just get down into the weeds a little bit with folks, I really want them to know how these things work.
Yeah, it's great to talk about the foundational items. And to your point, people get so caught up in the speculation they don't even realize what are they investing in, how does it work, what are the benefits, what are the real world use cases, and much more. And I think we got to talk about the Ripple victory, right? And the lawsuit and XRP being declared not a security. You and I, who've seen, like you said, XRP running up to 380 in the early days of this market, and then the SEC, I think, look, I don't want to get into all the drama, but we know it was an unfair lawsuit. And then Ripple coming out with this victory. What were your thoughts when you heard the ruling?
Honestly, I was elated with the victory. I mean, I was so thrilled because the most important thing happened. The most important thing that we needed happened, which was XRP is not a security. The fact that some of the other technical things of the lawsuit weren't completed as far as Brad and Chris Larson and the early sales, that wasn't as important as XRP being deemed not a security because, first of all, it's the only digital asset that has legal clarity, period. The only one. And because it does have legal clarity, and I saw David Schwartz tweet this the day after the judge made her ruling. There is no reason why a financial institution cannot use ODL right now. They just can't access it from Ripple, which was the original way it was supposed to be done, which was to access it through exchanges. Right. So that, for me, that's the most exciting thing. The thing that has troubled me the most about the victory is that so many people have been fudded, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Because the SEC didn't really make it clear, as far as what good came out of it for consumers. And all of the maximalists out there, the Bitcoin maximalists and the Ethereum maximalists, they just casted shade on the whole thing. They brought out their full troops. Everybody was activated to go ahead and make it look bad. But the truth is, Ripple won, XRP won, and there's no reason for anyone to be holding their head down. And Ripple has to finish the legal situation, which most of the attorneys are suggesting to us will end in a settlement, which 90+% of all SEC lawsuits end in a settlement. Yep. And look, Ripple was willing to settle before. They just wanted the SEC to agree that XRP wasn't a security. Now they got what they wanted. So probably the settlement's not going to be nearly as high as it originally was going to be. And look, the SEC, they have other things to do. So eventually they're going to settle this thing out. But I'm excited. I'm so thrilled that Ripple is throwing this proper party in New York City next week. And I know the last time I saw you was in New York at a party that we had.
Right.
And I know I'm going to be seeing you again in New York City soon then.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I'll certainly try to attend the Linqto party or pre-party.
Yeah. So we're going to we'll be announcing today that we're going to be having the proper pre-party. So we'll be having an afternoon party the day of the Ripple proper party. And we can't wait to be there and celebrate with everyone because, for many people, they're so happy that after 2 years of this, it's over. But for many of us, it's been 5 years and 6 years and 7 years of watching XRP go through, everything it's gone through and dealing with, all the different things, and then seeing Ripple go through what they went through with the case. I mean, we've been in it for the long haul. I mean, it's just, but I salute all of the people that believed in what they were invested in, know what you're invested in, and never give up, because we already won as far as XRP not being a security. And my belief is the next big thing we're waiting for is that first financial institution to do an ODL transaction in the United States. I believe, I could be wrong, but I believe when that first company does it, this thing is going to just explode, because not only is it going to cause excitement in the crypto world, but all of the naysayers about crypto, which they have a right to be naysayers about crypto, because 99% of blockchains are garbage. I mean, let's face it, there's 30,000 blockchains out there. We can't have that many blockchains. But when they see that there's a real use case and that financial institutions are using it and how they're using it, there are going to be a lot of people that come to this party, and Ripple's going to get a lot of attention. So it's going to be exciting.
What are your thoughts, in addition to, the Ripple victory? Grayscale took a victory. It looks like Coinbase might also do the same. The SEC just running amok. They have fallen far from their core mission. They've become political and much more. Do you think all of these things happening will lead to crypto regulation sooner than later? And
yeah, I mean, I wish Congress had just stepped in sooner. It's like, they're so busy just fighting over stuff that taking care of the people has become, secondary, if at all, on the list of things to do. Everybody's worried about getting reelected and the infighting. But I think it's inevitable. I wish it had happened sooner. And even for the members of Congress that have been supportive in our space, I'm here to say they haven't done enough. They haven't done enough to protect innovation in the United States. It's really ridiculous. And they had a great role model, so to speak, of the internet, right? The internet came in, everybody got scared, everybody freaked out. And this is just another, example of a new industry. And I just think they've treated it wrong. They should have stepped in sooner, but, I think we're on the right road.
For sure. And hopefully we could see something this year, if not early next year. But I like to your point, we're on the right path. I think things are moving a bit faster than they have historically. We have more members of Congress paying attention now. So I think I'm optimistic, but
Yeah.
to your point, they got to move faster.
Yeah, and if there's one thing I can tell people, if you're new to this space, if you've been in this space a while, you don't need to hear this, but if you're new to this space, time stands still. I mean, it just, things take time. And it's like, when I first got into digital assets, people were like, that's a get rich quick scheme. Well, guess what? It's 7 years later. It wasn't quick. I mean, there's nothing fast about this. I mean, it's, and I also caution people to be careful what you get involved with, because everyone has a project. There's 30,000 blockchains out there. I mean, be sure that you're getting involved in something that has a real use case, a real team behind it. It's a very challenging space, and you got to be really, really careful. You and I have seen so many rug pulls, so many scams, so many companies come and go and come and go. It's the challenge with being a digital asset investor is the following. It's the only business I've ever seen in my life to where a founder becomes wealthy before they deliver on the promise of their product or their service.
Yeah.
The day they mint their coin, a lot of these folks become incredibly wealthy. So you have to ask yourself, is this project going to deliver on its promise? And are there enough people supporting it, whether it's the founders or not, to drive it to that point? And that's always been my measure of Ripple and XRP all of these years. Was I said to myself, and look, we've seen it with other, and I don't want to name any names, but there are many blockchains that were in the top 10 where the founders have disappeared. And I would, just, they're out there. I'm not going to name any names, but I always knew over the years that, the Ripple team, they are just hell-bent on being successful. And because they picked the hardest use case. They could have went to tokenization. They could have went to derivative. They could have went in another direction. They went to attack payments. Banks, financial institutions, they took the hardest road, because I think that their thinking was, if we can do this, we can do all the other stuff. So they took the hard fight first. But I just would encourage anyone to, whatever you get involved with, make sure it's backed by the right people. And I know Ripple's backed by the right people. I've had the privilege of meeting a lot of the Ripple executives over the years. And when you're belly to belly, nose to nose, and toes to toes with these folks, and you ask questions and they just flat out answer you, and it's really it really makes you feel comfortable with your investment.
For sure.
Yeah.
So Nick, I got some wrap-up questions here for you. First, and I know you're not a fan of the metaverse, but if you could create your own metaverse, what would the theme be? Where would Nick put his Oculus on and go to?
It's not that I'm not a fan of the metaverse. I mean, I think that's probably not appealing so much to me because of my age bracket. But I think it's going to be a great space for people in gaming. I think there's going to be a lot of interesting things that happen in the metaverse. I think it'll be a tremendous investment opportunity for folks, because when you look at the amount of people and the amount of money in gaming, it's phenomenal. And I think it's going to be an incredible place to game. I don't know how it's going to be successfully used in other areas. I don't spend a lot of time looking at the metaverse, but I know that I would invest in the metaverse from an investment perspective, but it's probably not something for me personally.
Yeah, I mean, I think to your point, gaming is going to be huge. Media, concerts, like once the imagery and the quality becomes like super high quality, where you're fully immersed, where you can almost not tell the difference, right? You can look 360 and it's very immersive. I think once we get there, it's going to be huge, but that's probably maybe 10 years away, but we'll see.
Yeah. And look, it's going to take that first real cool use case to blow it up, right? It's going to take that first real big thing that's real, that people can really get excited about. and I don't know what that is, but I'm sure it's coming. And there's some great companies working on it. I mean, there's some really good companies, so it'll be interesting.
All right, got some rapid fire questions here for you.
Sure.
Favorite food?
Oh man, it's a tough one. I mean, Italian food. What am I going to do? You
For
know?
sure. Favorite musician or band?
Man, I'm like an 80s fan. I listen to so much 80s music. To pick a favorite, it's impossible. I mean, it shocks a lot of the people in my personal life to know, like I currently listen to country music because they just don't make good music anymore. So it's like I have to go back to old music or listen to country music. So these days, I mean, I listen to Morgan Wallen and all kinds of country music, but I can't pick a favorite band, but man, the 80s was the best for music.
And favorite movie?
Favorite movie, man, I have to say The Godfather.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's in my top five. I got to grab it. So yeah, Godfather's the one. And you know what? I'm gonna take it back. I'm gonna say Godfather 2.
Godfather 2.
I think 2's better than 1, but 1 is fantastic. And if you haven't seen either one, watch them both.
Oh yeah. I anytime those movies are on TV, I stop and I watch. And my wife's like, "Haven't you seen this like a million times?" Like, yeah, but it's The Godfather. I mean,
doesn't matter. It's like every time you watch it's like the first time. It's just amazing.
Favorite book?
My favorite book of all time is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I would encourage anyone that's never read that book to read the book or do the book on tape. It is mind-blowing. It was written in the 30s, I believe. Napoleon Hill had interviewed many of the wealthy people in the country at the time, and he shares what they had in common and the way those people think and the way they go about their lives. So Think and Grow Rich is my all-time favorite book.
And when you're not working at Linqto, what are you doing for fun as a hobby?
These days, I'm playing pickleball. I'm a pickleball nutcase. I absolutely love it, and it's a blast. If you haven't played, you need to play. If you do play, you get it. It's a lot of fun. So yeah, pickleball, and I love to fish. I don't get to do much of it anymore, but pickleball is what I'm doing when I'm not working.
Awesome, Nick. Yeah. I'm excited for future updates around Linqto. Thank you for joining me,
Tony. My pleasure. I'm going to see you on the 29th of this month at the Proper Party, and you should see you also at the Proper Pre-Party, the Linqto Proper Pre-Party.
For sure.
All right. Thanks, Tony.